Hey, what the hell's going on, you guys? It is Stupid Player Negative AE, and welcome back to another episode of When They Cry. Possibly the last episode of this chapter of When They Cry. So we're gonna go ahead and see what happens. We were just about to be drugged, and then kind of blacked out. I don't know if we were drugged or what's going on, but we'll find out here real quick. I squatted down for a bit. When I came back to my senses, the entire room had changed drastically. The numbness in my head was gone, and slowly I could tell the blood was flowing to my extremities again. How long had I been squatting here? How many minutes? Or has it been hours? It was almost as if the hands on the clock had stopped moving the entire time my eyes were closed. That's how little time had passed. Really? The air in the room wasn't filled with the madness, or that madness from before, only a dull silence. Rena wasn't there pinning my arms, and Mion wasn't there about to inject me with a needle. No way. Could it be all of it? Was a hallucination? There was no other presence in the room besides my own. Interesting. It was the weirdest experience I've ever had. I was certainly with Rena and Mion. I doubted my sanity for a moment, but I was also seized with some sort of comfort. I guess that terrible ordeal was a hallucination. Neither Rena nor Mion. It wouldn't ever do something so terrible. My head grew hot. I could tell my emotions were welling up. Why? That wasn't a reason to cry. Why? It was sorrow. Why was I sad? Don't understand. Don't understand. Kind to everyone, not discriminating against age or gender. Mion. That Mion was sprawled by the window in an unnatural pose. Blood stained her a deep red from her head down to her chest. The bright crimson smeared on the walls. That spatter had undoubtedly come from Mion. She always had that bright smile and was kind to me from the day I transferred. Anna. That same Rena was slumped at my feet and was making the same pool of blood as Mion. Couldn't comprehend what had happened. Someone come to save me? Then they beat these two down with this metal bat? I finally noticed the weight in my right hand. How long had it been there? It was Satoshi's metal bat. It was covered in a deep red. There was no doubt that this was the weapon used to mutilate both of them. And I was holding that weapon. I was the only person. Oh, shit. Yeah. Looking at this objectively, I couldn't think of anyone other than myself who could have done it. I did this? That's right. Keiichi Maebara. Of course I did it. Now, this doesn't look too good. I told myself gently, as if coaxing myself. Hey, me. There's no reason for you to remember it, nor is there a need for you to regret it. Eat or be eaten. You get that, don't you? But the blood. The blood, there's so much. Neither Rena nor Mion moved an inch. It wasn't just a split forehead and a trickle of blood. Nothing that simple. The entire room was splattered with red, and that told me that it didn't end with just 2 or 3 strikes. Are they dead? Both of them? The depths of my mind were calm, but on the surface I was panicking and agitated. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. What happened to your usual calm self? Come on now. You do like you always do. Throw your head back and take a deep breath. Come on. Once. Twice. Breathe deeply. Calm down. calm down. I chanted that over and over in my head and relaxed. Color came back to my vision and smells reinfused the air. At the same time, I remembered what had happened when I blacked out. Really? Convenient. Rena and Mion had attacked me. They were about to inject me with whatever caused the same symptoms as Tomitaki-san. But right before that happened, I fought back. I twisted my whole body and threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. My question, before we get into this, is why didn't it show me this like 2 seconds ago? Like, before the halfway point. Unless they were just trying to get to the halfway point. And threw Rena as she was pinning my arms. Then I followed through with my spin and rammed my foot as hard as I could into Mion's torso. It was soft. Rena tried jumping on me, so I tackled her as hard as I could and slammed her against the wall. I didn't let that brief moment of having them off balance slip by. Toshi's bat was left carelessly by the side of my desk. Weep. At that moment, everything went pitch black. Nothing. Weep. Weep? Are you a robot? Is that when your memory stopped? Freaking robot ass? What the hell? There was nothing recorded past the point in this videotape of my mind. That wasn't right. It wasn't that there was nothing recorded. It was recorded just fine. Just, the other me inside myself had told me not to look and turned off the TV. Just because the screen had gone black and I couldn't see it, it is what I think it is. Didn't mean that the videotape within me hadn't recorded it. TV was just off. Video was still playing. Tape within me, creaking along, still playing. On the other end of that pitch black screen, that horrifying video was still playing on. Compared to this, though, the scene right before my eyes was still so difficult to take in. There was blood splattered everywhere on the walls, 2 of them in these unnatural poses. Not even a sign of movement from them. I couldn't even tell if they were breathing. No matter what the circumstances were, my friends, these girls, I had attacked them. May have even killed them. But if I hadn't done this, I would have been the one done for. Balancing that out on an imaginary scale, it felt odd that I would even feel bad about it. Even if it was a bit excessive, this was justifiable self-defense. Proof was all here. 2 of them collapsed here in Mion's syringe. Mion's syringe filled with some unknown drug that would certainly solve the mystery surrounding the incident with Tomitaki-san. And the fact that both of these 2 were involved, they'd be able to pick out the criminals one after the other. Still, I might be suspected for this. But that was just fine. Anyway, now this should be a police affair. This wouldn't fade into darkness like Rena's past incidents. As long as the police were involved, that should bring this to a close. I know they'll probably revisit their investigation on the chain of incidents. Uishi-san would definitely get to the bottom of it. Here's my problem. Meaning my wish, not wanting to die, wanting to know the truth. That would be fulfilled in its most basic form. It's all a matter of time now. The doctor Rena called should be getting here soon. Okay. So here's my problem. It is, it's obvious what the problem is. I'll confess everything to him. I'm insane. I have no proof. The syringe with the drugs in it could be linked to me. There was no, there's no definitive proof, which is hard, especially when there's like a self-defense thing going on. He needs to contact Uichi-san. At that moment, I remembered. Besides the doctor, a manager had been called. It's easy to imagine that they were someone deeply involved with the incidents, judging from Rena and Mion's conversation. So I had actually a conversation in the comments about this exact thing, because I had forgotten to kind of speculate on it on the last episode. My idea, and the only thing that I can think of for this manager person, is that it's Satoshi, because if you think about it, Rena and Satoshi were both kind of like possessed or whatever, but Rena was still there, but Satoshi wasn't, or something like that. And so I think it's Satoshi, but then it might just be someone from the town because the whole town's in on it. But then I also, the headache in my chest caused by some gruesome deed I'd done dissipated rapidly. It was not over yet. This place was no longer safe. Stay calm, Keiichi Maebara. Not over yet. I needed to live long enough to tell the police of this incident. At that moment, I felt like I heard someone's voice from outside. Since people were speaking, it must mean there was more than one person. Listen, dude. Listen in. I moved the curtain ever so slightly and peered outside. It was a bizarre sight. About 4 or 5 grown men were all gathered at the gate. They resembled the 2 men who had assaulted me at the dam site yesterday. Those 2 might even be among them. There was one person wearing a white coat, but he didn't look like a doctor at all. My gut told me he was in disguise, only posing as a doctor. That guy would probably ring the bell and get me to open the front door. Pretend to be a doctor to get me to open the front door, and then the rest of them would all rush in at once. At that moment, I saw the car parked behind the men, and my heart nearly skipped a beat. Is it Oishi? Oh, it's the white van. Okay, that's better than I thought. I'm mistaking it. That van, the one that tried to run me over, or run me down? The man in the white coat entered the gate and headed towards the front door. The rest of the men hid in the bushes and watched him. I probably couldn't pretend that I wasn't home. Undoubtedly, they'd just break the window and enter. I needed to get out of here somewhere, somehow. Then use a public phone to contact Oishi-san. Then meet up somewhere. First of all, I need a weapon. Then shoes. But before all of that, there was one thing I had to do. I had no intention of dying. I'd live and reveal the truth about this nonsensical curse of Oyashiro-sama. But what would happen from here on, regardless of how determined I was, may bring about my demise. And that's why. There was one more important thing than getting out of here right now. I need to get that clock out quickly and take down the note hidden behind it. Damn it. Tape was sticking to it so fast. It'd be fine if it was torn a little. I opened up the slightly torn note and began writing another passage with a ballpoint pen. I wasn't able to inform Oishi-san, and the only thing I could rely on was this note. I'd never thought a piece of torn, college-ruled notebook paper could be this reliable before. I had no time. I'd only write what I knew right now. I needed to leave some sort of information that would lead them to uncover the truth. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the perpetrators. This was an undeniable fact. I still didn't want to believe it, but it was a fact. Anyway, I'd leave all the information that would help lead them to finding the perpetrators. There are 4 or 5 adults, maybe more. They have a white van. This was everything I was able to see from the window. There may be more. Also, there was that unidentified person known as the manager. To begin with, the term manager didn't even mesh with Hinamizawa at all. If they were going to include managers from the past incidents, then the only one is the construction foreman, the victim from the first murder. The very first victim, the chain of events. Killed in a lynching, his body divided into 6 pieces. His right arm was never discovered. The police should have confirmed that death, but Rena and Mion did both call him manager. Said manager, in quotes. They didn't want to use that term. They wouldn't want to use that term to refer to someone who is dead. The police would never even conceive that someone who was deceased could be involved. Could that be some sort of oversight? I don't know. Even if I did know, it could be a big hint for Oishi-san. That's right. They needed to start fresh from the first incident. It wasn't just a simple dismemberment, but the start of the string of mysterious deaths that would follow. So then, there must be something hidden there. Please reinvestigate the victim from the dismemberment incident. He's alive. See, is that true though? Why would I write that? His death should have been established after an autopsy. Logically, you would think as much. But was that really the case? Could it have been some sort of ploy that they were able to deceive the police with? I shouldn't jump to conclusions. But he may still be alive. I had no time to ponder that right now. Oh yeah. There's something even more important I needed to write. Tomitaki-san's death was from an unknown drug. That's right. That drug was an irreplaceable piece of evidence. No doubt, just by having this, everything would be uncovered. I couldn't just leave that vital clue lying on the floor. The syringe is proof. Writing that down, I stuck the syringe onto the back of the clock with plenty of tape, so it absolutely would not slip out and fall to the floor. Firmly. The bell rang. They were here. I couldn't write anymore. But even still, there was one last thing I had to write. I have no idea why it has become like this. Maybe the closest thing to the truth out of everything I wrote on this note. If you are reading this, then I am probably already dead. Though you may or may not find my body. If I was going to write everything that could happen, either dying from the curse or being demoned away, you, who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. With this, my last will and testament was complete. I wasn't certain that I was going to die, but it was my final plea, just in case. I folded the note and stuck it to the back of the clock, and then returned the clock back to its usual spot. But I couldn't help but pray. Oishi-san, if something happens to me, I leave the rest to you. You better move, dude. After that, I gazed down silently at Rena and Mion. This was probably the last time we'd ever see each other. Rena, Mion, I really had thought all of us were friends. But why did it end up like this? I never had any fun in my previous school. I only worried about standardized test scores, about if the school I hoped to get into was where I really wanted to go or a safety net. That was all I talked about. It was a dull life. The people I called friends were also my rivals in studying and competitions and personal records and standardized test scores. Everyone here taught me how unhealthy that lifestyle was. This month was really fun. Making a fuss over lunch, making a fuss over the club, making a fuss over the festival. Something hot began dripping from my face. Uncontrollable tears. I should have no obligation to shed tears for them, but they won't stop, or they wouldn't stop, even if they were after my life, even if they were trying to kill me. Everything that happened this month, I wouldn't forget it. Or could it be those happy days were all a facade as well? Was it all a trap, meticulously orchestrated up until today, to ensnare me? Could it have been that I had just arbitrarily assumed that they were... You need to get moving, dude. That couldn't have been the case. Both Rena and Mion, they really were my friends. Those happy days. There was nothing fake or unclear about them. Someone probably forced them to try and kill me. or their minds were taken over, possessed by the supernatural entity known as Oyashiro-sama. Regardless, both Rena and Mion, they were the best friends ever. And when they were coming after me, it wasn't of their own volition. Wait, they weren't the kind of people to sell off their friends regardless of whether or not they were forced. There's no way such a thing like being possessed by Oyashiro-sama could happen in reality. Did the real... You need to move, dude! Oh my goodness, did the real Rena and Mion come after me? What was I thinking? What a silly, dumb idea. Having beaten down both Rena and Mion, I was still debating whether they were the real ones or fakes. There was no real or fake. The only reality that was before me. Rena and Mion were sprawled out at my feet. That was the only truth. I was only trying to twist the facts to my benefit, that I had beaten my friends to death. No matter how I spun it wouldn't change reality. Rena and Mion were both dead. I felt like there was a crack in the dam of strange emotions I was holding back. It felt like, oh my god, my calm state, which was nothing more than a bluff, had receded, and in that opening, insanity was leaking out. Killed them. Rena and Mion. I killed them. The doorbell rang again. The unrelenting echo pulled me back into a state of composure once again. I didn't have a moment to spare, although you've spared many moments, dude. Quickly, I needed to get away. I didn't want to die. I would uncover everything after that. The identity of whoever, or whatever, had pushed me this far. Even if I had to drink mud and eat grass, I would survive. I would survive. I would definitely survive. I killed Rena for that very reason. I also killed Mion. I went that far just to keep living. So I can't die. For my sake, and for the sake of the late Rena and Mion, I had to survive. I ran towards the door as I grabbed my shoes. The doorbell rang again as if to urge me on. Behind this single solitary door, they were there. You're gonna open, you better leave through like a window or some shit. Keeping quiet, I headed towards the kitchen. Headed towards the back door. Before opening the back door, I put my ear to it and checked for the people outside. Good. No one? After I put on my shoes, I opened the door slowly as if to not make a sound. There he is, the back door! A piercing voice echoed out. That voice stabbed through me, setting my hair on end. I had to run. Get out of here, Keiichi. One after the other, I felt stuff like rationale and intelligence, those things that you use when you have time to spare, spill out of me. I didn't feel any pain from the branches scratching my arms and forehead. My autonomously pulsing heart also felt neither fatigue nor pain. My entire being just wished to be alive, or wished to live. There was nothing else it desired. It probably had no complaints whatsoever. So of course, I wouldn't feel fatigue. I just ran. Just recklessly, rushing in the direction I was already heading. Even if nobody was chasing after me, I'd still be running like this. There wasn't a thought in my mind about where I was headed. Turning around, I felt a presence right next to me. That presence was, without a doubt, chasing me like my shadow. If I took even one misstep, I would be devoured. That's what I thought. So I didn't turn around. I didn't stop. I ran. At full speed. Very, very interesting. That was the chirping of the Higurashi telling me it was evening. Trying to tell me something. And then I finally heard it. The wailing cry of the victims who didn't make it. Would I be joining them? Quack, quack, quack. Pretty close. Pretty close to Higurashi. Only the Higurashi knew. They knew everything. They definitely knew. So I ran towards where I could hear more of the Higurashi's chirps. But the farther I ran, the farther away their chirping became. I couldn't get near them. Why are you all running away? Is it my fault? Was I the one to blame? Then I'll apologize. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry, I'm sorry? Felt that only the Higurashi knew. What? What? Smoking room was filled with a cloud of cigarette smoke. The expensive smoke filter gave off some crackling electric noise, but it didn't seem like it was doing anything at all. Why do smokers have to be shoved so far down this corridor where the sun didn't even reach? I recalled hearing that the tax revenue from the tobacco was about a tenth of the oh my goodness, I know this word. Municipalities revenue. We were the most heavily taxed members of this municipality. Oh, they're gonna make me work, aren't they? So I really wished they'd show us a little more respect. Why would you discard the 5 Mansu there? It's just decreasing your options. One of the younger detectives was having a staring contest with the Mahang magazine called Next Turn. You're still in Tenpai if you cut the 5 Mansu. If you're betting on a Aite, then shouldn't you be going into it with a Mangang? Kuma-chan, look at the pond. They all discarded at 5 Mansu. It's a safe tile. What? You'd hate if at the end game someone was sitting on a Tenpai on the last turn, wouldn't you? The kid let out another groan, put out a cigarette, and then took out another one. I just don't agree. Why would you reduce your own options? By the way, you can't call Ron with your winning tile in that Heitai. Or Heite. Heite? What? Why is that? Just then, I heard a voice coming from down the hall. Are you here, Oishi-san? You have a call from a civilian. Whoa, ain't that something? Well, see you soon. Why can't you call Ron on it? Hold on for a second, Oishi-san. Man sitting in the seat. Wait, the man sitting in the seat Oishi-san was heading towards waved at the telephone receiver. Outside line. From a payphone? Oh, I thank you. Sorry to keep you waiting. This is Oishi? Who is it? Oishi-san? Hello? If it isn't Meibara-san. Why, good evening. From the tone of Meibara-kun's voice, I already knew that he was in a predicament. This is the first time Meibara-kun had phoned me. And he was calling from a payphone. Please calm down. Did something happen? Well... Ah! His voice was erratic over the line and he had completely lost his sense of composure. After checking that nobody else could hear, I prompted him in a hushed tone. What happened? Calm down, Meibara-san. I can have the local officers head to your location. I'll be there soon, too. I think that's impossible. His voice was quavering and hoarse. He wasn't surrounded by people even as he was making this call, was he? Meibara-san, you're calling from a payphone right now, right? Where is that payphone? There were no other sounds besides Meibara-kun's voice. It had to be a phone booth. I scratched out a note and thrust it at my colleague sitting across from me. Himizawa phone booth. He understood quickly and hastily started on the internal lines. Calm down, Meibara-san. What is your current situation? It usually wasn't a good idea to tell someone panicking to do so, but this was not a usual case. Mibara-kun didn't just get in trouble, get away, then call me. He was in the midst of something dangerous right now. But yelling at Mibara-kun right now would just needlessly cause him to be even more frantic. Mibara-kun wasn't just calling to seek help. He was trying to tell us something more than that, and whatever that was. If I didn't get it from this call, I'm certain there would never be another chance. My colleague pushed a note in front of me. There's only one phone booth in Hinamizawa. Patrol car is on the way. 5 minutes. It's too long. How many officers are in there? 2. Not enough. If it was as I imagined, there were likely quite a few people surrounding Mibara-kun. 5 minutes was too long. Did you call the officer stationed in Hinamizawa? He's scheduled to be on patrol. They're currently out, and it'll be impossible to contact them. God damn. Ume-chan, bring the car around. Understood. Hello? Uishi-san? Cough, cough. Hello? Yeah, it's alright. I can hear you loud and clear. There was something wrong with Mibara-kun. That wasn't a normal coughing sound. Vomiting? Or was it blood? Had he already been attacked? Was he injured? Mibara-san, the police are on their way. They'll be there in a couple minutes, so hold on somehow. Hello? Can you hear me? Mibara-san. On the other end of the line, I could hear on the other end of the line that he was having a coughing fit. The worst possible situation popped into my head. Mibara-san, who is the culprit? How many are there? I thought at first the culprit was human. Heck. I couldn't tell if that was a cough or vomiting. Are you alright, Mibara-san? I thought that the culprit was a person and not Oyashiro-sama's curse. Up until right now. But I guess in the end, it was an intense bout of coughing. Then vomiting. But I guess Oyashiro-sama does exist. No, he's here. Mibara-san, please calm down. I had been thinking it was strange for a while now. It's been following me this whole time. I run, and run, and run, and run. But it just sticks to me like my shadow. But slowly, so slowly, it's digging itself into my back. Mibara-san, are they, right now, perhaps, behind you? Behind me. Right behind me. Please, Mibara-san. I can tell you're scared, but please. Who is it that is right behind you? I can't just look behind me. If I do, I understand that you're scared, but please tell me. You need to turn around a bit. Who is it? Who is behind you, Mibara-san? Right after I said that, I could hear him vomiting intensely. What followed was a nightmarish sound. Mibara-san, it couldn't be that you're clawing at your own throat? There was no answer, but I could hear something like scratching. There was a bang, as if something was being hit. Mibara-kun probably dropped the receiver. I could hear groaning and vomiting over on the other end, and a repeating abnormal noise. Hello? Hello? Mibara-san? Hello? I knew how far away my voice would sound on the other end, but I couldn't help but shout. At that moment, I heard whispering coming from the other end. Couldn't tell what he was saying. And the way he was saying it, it was like he was talking to himself? Or was he talking to someone there? Hello? Mibara-san? Rather than whispering, it was some kind of mantra he was chanting over and over. I focused my senses and tried to pick up on what he was saying. I'm sorry. Beep. Suddenly the line went dead. Did he use up his time? It was because it was a payphone. Ah, it was because it was cut so abruptly. The last thing he said came out so clearly in my mind. Oishi-san, the car is good to go. Oishi-san? It was sorry. Oishi-san? That was what he was repeating over and over again. He said, sorry. I had a gut feeling that there was no longer a need to hurry. I could hear from the chirp of the Higurashi spilling in from the open window. I should have been able to hear them this entire time. I just wasn't paying any attention. Why did I focus on them all of a sudden? Were they trying to tell me something? Only the Higurashi knew. That's how I felt. July 1983. Inamizawa, a remote village near Shishibone City. There was a murder involving 2 female students. The suspect called over his 2 female classmates, ran Ryugu, Mion Sonozaki, to his house and beat them to death with a metal bat. The scene of the crime was the suspect's room on the 2nd floor of his house. The inside of the room was covered with a significant quantity of splattered blood, and there were signs of a struggle with the victims. In addition to the scene of the crime, the entryway, living room, and kitchen all had traces of a struggle. The entranceway and shoe rack had been evidence of being impacted by a strong blunt force. It is believed to be the same bat as the murder weapon. Having no traces of blood, it is believed the destruction occurred before the murders. There is a possibility that the suspect overpowered his victims to keep them from fleeing. In the living room, the rug had been pulled back, then thrown aside. It is hard to believe that this had a connection to the struggle with the victims, and thus the reason for this remains unknown. In the kitchen, the garbage bag was torn apart and its contents were spread on the floor. Garbage was strewn about the surrounding area, and handprints believed to belong to the suspect were discovered. It is believed that the suspect had, for some reason, taken out the garbage and struck it with his fists. The reason for this remains unknown. In addition, there was a note stuck to the fridge. Was there a needle? Was written on it. The meaning behind this remains unclear. Just in case, the garbage was searched, but a needle was not discovered. The garage door was functional. It had been left open ever since the suspect moved in. The garage door was found closed. The suspect's fingerprints were discovered on the garage door. The reason behind this remains unknown. The suspect fled the scene of the crime. However, a patrolling officer, Inamizawa local PD, found the suspect and collapsed. At the time of discovery, the suspect was unconscious in critical condition. He was rushed to the hospital for treatment, but did not regain consciousness and died 24 hours later. The results of the autopsy indicate an immediate cause of death to have been hypovolemic shock. It was determined that the suspect had clawed at his own throat with his fingernails, and the resulting bleeding caused his death. The similarity to the death of Tomitaki-san the prior week, the police believe there to be a connection and have opened an investigation. However, due to the wishes of local authorities, it will be a confidential investigation. Due to abnormal nature of death, it was suspected that drugs were involved, but as with Tomitaki-san, no traces were discovered. What prompted all this remains inexplicable. As such, the case is being treated as an act committed on impulse. However, with several accounts of, separated from his group of friends, isolation, inexplicable behavior, several days before the incident, the suspect began carrying around a metal bat. The suspect observed displaying his aggressive behavior as well as talking to himself at school. His classmates have actually heard portions of what he was saying. 2 days before the incident, the suspect declared to his parents the possibility of his death. Due to these circumstances, the police have begun an investigation on the possibility that this crime was not committed on impulse, but instead was planned several days in advance. Afterwards, a note was found in the suspect's room that he had written himself. The note was written on 2 sheets of B5 college-ruled notebook that had been torn in half, as if trying to conceal that it was stuck behind a clock on the wall. The contents are written in the appendix. The police believe it to be strongly related to the incident. The police changed their line of investigation based on the possibility the suspect himself was. However, no further clues were found, casting on the doubt. Was the crime impulsive or Okay, wow, that was way too fast to read. However, the following year, suspicion arose regarding the nature of the note. The note was not written on 2 halves of B5 paper, but on 2 separate sheets. But was originally one. In order to erase several lines from the middle, someone had torn them out. Judging by the size of the letters, the missing section is estimated to be 2 to 3 lines. It's highly probable that the person who eliminated those lines is not the suspect. In addition, judging large quantities of cellophane tape, the person who discovered the crime, effective connection to the incident, Kurado Oishi. Suspect's note. What did they remove, I wonder? I, Keiichi Mibara, am in fear for my life. I do not know why they are after my life. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Rena and Mion are conspirators of the burn, maybe more. They have a white van. With all this written on the first sheet. Everything below has been ripped out. This is from the second sheet. Everything above is... I have no idea why it has become like this. If you are reading this, I'm probably already dead. The only difference may be the presence or lack of a body. You who are reading this, please uncover the truth. That is my only desire. Keiichi Mibara. Is it gonna let me click now? Okay, can we... let's slow down. Can we... Okay. So they tore out the part with the manager, meaning that the manager is an integral part of everything, and that it all has to do with the first murder that happened. I'm very, very, very surprised that they decided to kill the main character, because now I don't know what's gonna happen later on, because there's more games of this. So am I gonna play as Oishi-san, and how does that work? And like, that's so, I don't know. We'll see. This has been auto-scrolling, by the way, so I can't read it faster than it says. That was interesting. That's the end of the chapter, I'm guessing. A new scenario has been unlocked. All cast review session has been to play it. Click extra on the title menu and then pick the all cast review session. Please cover the truth. Is the achievement I just got. All right, so that was very, very interesting. There's still more episodes of this, so we're not done. But I'm interested to see how the next ones play out. Considering this was kind of the end of Keiichi Mibara's life. There's demons, obviously. There's definitely demons. And I find it hard to believe that Rena and Mion are just dead. And the reason for that is because if they really are working for like a demon, you would think that the demon would not let them die. Whether it be that they are assumed dead so that way they can do the murders easier. I think that's probably what it is they died. They left like bodies there, but they're demons, right? Like you would think that they can't die unless they aren't demons and I'm wrong and they're just crazy. But no, they are demons because there was a demon that made me claw out my own throat and I was Keiichi Mibara. There's a lot of... I don't know. It's very, 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 very interesting. I am not sure how it's going to continue. I don't know what this extra thing is that they're talking about. Does it just go through... What is this? Let's just make sure that it's nothing crazy. Thank you for buying Higurashi When They Cry Kishi, a visual novel by 07th Expansion. How was it? If you enjoyed it even a little bit, it would make me happy. Even a little bit is stretching it. That incredibly dark ending made me angry, Made us angry. As I understand it, this Onakakushi chapter is supposed to be somewhat of a prologue to the entire series. Good. Yes. I'm down. How could the prologue have such an incredibly dark ending? Yeah, but doesn't that happen sometimes? The player digging through the story in order to avoid a bad ending is the point of these types of games after all. It's still just the first chapter. I'm looking forward to the next one. What happens in the next chapter? Brenna, do you know? Yeah, they said the next chapter will introduce another aspect of the story. That's a strange way of putting it. What does that mean? In this chapter, they introduced the string of mysterious deaths that were happening in Hinamizawa recently, right? The next chapter will introduce some of the history of Hinamizawa. With one strange event happening after another, I got totally lost. What exactly is Oyashiro-sama's curse about? Actually, what is Oyashiro-sama to begin with? They didn't explain it much. I haven't heard much about it, but I have kind of a bad feeling about it. It feels like it'll be another one of those scary stories where somebody gets cursed again. Tough luck, Kei-chan. What kind of curse is he gonna get hit with this time? However, I am looking forward to seeing what kind of story it's going to be. What? Sorry for being late, my bad. Hey everybody, good work today. Same to you. Huh? Where's Kei-chan? Keiichi-kun is already off reading the script for the next chapter. I kinda like this. The fourth wall break. It must be hard being the main character. Huh? That's too bad. You could have at least poked in to say hello. It's probably because he doesn't have any character art, so he couldn't poke his head in even if he wanted to. Rika-san, that's what we refer to as a personal problem. In any case, that story really was a lot of trouble, especially for Keiichi-kun and Rena-chan. Trouble? That was the mother of all bad ends. I like Satoko. I wonder, what was the identity of the thing that attacked Keiichi-kun? My theory is that it was the work of people made to look like a curse. But at the end, Keiichi made that phone call. Yeah, I also thought that call was strange. At that point, Kei-chan should have been certain that the culprits were people. It was a really strange phone call. It almost sounded like he was being chased by a ghost or something. I like how they're just like speculating with me. Just from that phone call, it makes me think that it was really the work of a curse after all. Since we're all here, why don't we all share our theories? Let's start with Sonozaki-san. Okay. I absolutely believe it was people. I do not. I think it was a man-made incident that was imitating the strange folklore floating around Hinamizawa. I don't think so. Certainly. Every year on the day of the festival, another link in the chain of mysterious deaths to happens certainly is suspicious. That so-called chain of mysterious deaths is definitely somebody trying to reenact the folklore, definitely. I think it was the curse. I agree with Satoko here. Looking at the scene where Keiichi-san went berserk in the entryway, and the last scene with the phone call, I couldn't help but come to the conclusion that a person was the culprit. Or I couldn't just come to the conclusion that a person was the culprit. When you say it that way, it really wasn't the type of scene that would make you think it was the work of an actual person. Yeah, but even then, I still think it was a person who did it. The last scene and the one with the entryway, I think it might have been a delusional episode brought by post-traumatic stress disorder. I wouldn't know what's going on anymore even if you didn't use such complicated words. In other words, Keiichi was so scared that he was imagining things. That was going through my head too! Oh my goodness, they're just going through all the theories. Then what was the meaning behind that scene? What exactly was that mysterious presence behind Keiichi? Red herring. Redherring. Michan, what do you mean by a red herring? Like old man Tomitaki here said, that scene was the result of Kei-chan having a stress-induced delusion from being mentally cornered. To expand a bit further, it was a ploy to make the player think it was a curse. That's why it was a red herring. You son of a bitch, game. I swear to God. Like, it's just basically saying all of the things that I have to say, which is cool. See, I think that it was definitely the curse, because the game is too much about the curse to not be about the curse, right? Like, if you turn around and say that, oh, he was delusional the entire time, and that people go to but then it's like not even like he can't be crazy because there's been deaths before and they've been happening, right? Like, he's not crazy imagining those deaths. Like, Tomitaki-san's death actually happened, right? So he's not going crazy that those deaths happened. So I'm thinking that definitely there's a curse, definitely there's demons. He's not crazy. The whole town is in on it. And the manager has something to do with the first case. Well, it just means that there's a possibility. There's that possibility. In that case, the theory that Oishi-san proposed during the story that it was a conspiracy by the villagers was correct. What does the man himself have to say about that? Me? Makes you think, huh? Huh? I totally thought that Oishi-san would be behind the people explanation. During the story, I said it was definitely the work of people, but if a person was really was to blame, that leaves a lot of loose ends. You know? Like what? Let's hear what Detective Oishi-san's theory is. First of all, if a human's the culprit, that means there has to be a motive. In other words, somebody has to gain something from it. Exactly. So what you mean is, if this was the work of people, there would have to be something gained from causing the chain of mysterious deaths. Exactly. I felt that somebody could have benefited from the deaths of people related to the dam development, but the recent victims weren't related to that at all. First of all, who benefits from killing Keiichi-kun? I see. If you say it like that, my case is kind of weak too. I mean, none of your money was stolen. There's no way it was human culprits. But that's not everything there is to it, right? Like Michan said, there might have been some sort of reason for them to reenact the folklore. Exactly. This wasn't a murder where you consider typical motives. It makes me think that this was most likely some sort of ritualistic murder in order to reenact the blood-stained history of the village. So I'll ask the question of the hour. Who gains from this reenactment? It's not about simple benefit, it's more of a psychological reason. I think that maybe this was an act of revenge. Something native to the region. Fate was unable to be fooled this time around. I see. A member of some repressed family looking to air out an old grudge of their ancestors, something like that? I don't like that. Then what is it? It couldn't be that you're leaning towards the curse explanation, Oishi-san. I am. That's right, that's right. The man playing the detective said so. It's decided. It was a curse. If, like how Maebara-san said during the story, it was the case that Oyashiro-sama possessed Rena-san and Sonozaki-san and committed those acts, that would fit the evidence the most, as much as I hate to say it. Actually, I'm of the same opinion as Oishi-san. I can't come up with any other explanation for the normally kind Rena and Michan to suddenly start acting like that. About that, it may sound strange coming from the person herself, but I think that Mion, did it. I don't get what Mi is saying. I'd like an explanation. Oh, sorry. In other words, I think this may end up being a really cruel story. Huh? Wait, Michan? You don't mean... If you follow the trail of evidence to the very end, that's how it would seem. I also have my suspicions. In other words, Rena-san and Sonozaki-san both actually had those personalities to begin with and were merely deceiving Maebara-san. Am I right? That's what I think. 100%. I don't like that at all. Wow. This is all the curse's fault. Rena-san and Mion-san and everybody else are kind, nice people. I like this. It's a nice, like, relief after that ending. I think that too. I think that Rena and Mion-chan are really good people at heart. I think that during the story they were definitely possessed by something. The Reneth also thinks this was a curse. But let me ask everybody who thinks it was a curse. There has to be a reason for a curse, right? I don't think there would be something indiscriminately cursing everything. Can somebody explain that? A curse is a curse. Human logic won't get us anywhere. I agree with Satoko, honestly, on pretty much everything. Satoko-chan. A personified deity is, in the end, nothing more than the creation of people. That's why their method of thinking is also understandable to humans. Just take a look at the Greek pantheon. They cry, get angry, get jealous. Basically, they're just like humans. So what you're saying is that Oyashiro-sama is cursing people with some benefit in mind? That's an odd way of putting it, but basically, yes. That's why they say, far from Jupiter, far from his thunder. You do have a point. Basically, it doesn't matter if Oyashiro-sama or humans, or if it's Oyashiro-sama or humans, there has to be a reason. But Rika, what if the reason isn't clear? I don't know. That's right. This is still just the prologue. There's still lots of stuff that hasn't been revealed yet. Yeah, it's hard to come up with any more theories at this point. No, I won't be satisfied until all this is made clear. Mion-san seems rather particular about this as well. We'll just make the best with what we know. Doesn't this feel interesting? Like the club a bit. Ah, yeah. If you put it that way, it does seem interesting. Oh my goodness. Well then, let's summarize. Let's see. I think it was a curse. Tomitaki-san thinks it was people, right? Yeah. I'll go with it being people. I also agree with the people explanation. That's not to say that I hate fantastic things like curses. But in this particular case, I think the connection to the curse is a little weak. 2 for the people explanation then. Rena-san was on the curse side of things, right? Yep. Satoko-chan and I believe it was a curse. Right? Yeah. I think it was a curse. People who say that Rena-san and Mion-san were evil to begin with are more benefiting of a curse. Well, I don't want to believe that my own personality was twisted. But I have to be cool when I'm in club mode. If I base my choice just on that emotion, I'll regret it, you know? Well, no. It really doesn't matter which side you pick, does it? Well, Rika-chan hasn't said anything yet. What do you think? I don't think that Oyashiro-sama is a bad god. That's an interesting opinion. I don't want to worship some bad god that just curses people. I'd like a generous god more than one that curses. That's right, Rika-chan is a shrine maiden. Yep, good opinion. Then what? If Rika-chan doesn't believe that it was Oyashiro-sama, then do you think the perpetrators were human after all? We'll just go with that. Well now, that means the votes are split right down the middle. So half of us think it was a curse and half of us think it was people. Rena-chan, just for reference. What did the test players who played the beta version think? Oh my goodness, this is funny. Yeah. There were a lot more players who believed in the people explanation. Really? I don't believe that it was a people I don't believe that for 1 second. CC, right there. Our veteran comrades, cool and collected and very observant. But the beta version only finished partway through the story. Ooh, that's right. Even the people who played the beta might change their mind if they got through to the very end. Yes, they will. Because halfway through the story I thought it was people. What should we do then? This means that our opinions are still split. It's no fun if we don't settle this. Well, there need to be an odd number of judges. In other words, we need one more opinion. Ah, perfect timing then. Why don't we ask Keiichi-kun himself? Let's call him. The opinion of the victim himself is very valuable. Since that's decided, it's time for the phone. Hello, Keiji-kun? It's Rana. Are you busy with work right now? Yeah, really busy. Just when I thought I'd get a break because of the chapter's over, it's already time for the next one. That's hilarious. How's Kei-chan? Busy? Yeah, he's moping. I can hear you, you know. It must be nice having a wrap-up party. I wanted to go too. You can come if you get some character art for yourself. Rika, that's a secret. Or are they gonna have character art for me next episode? Sorry to hear about that, Keiji-kun. Anyways, during the current chapter, Keiji-kun, didn't you die? We were just talking about who the culprit might be. Basically, we're deadlocked on whether it was people or Oyashiro-sama's curse that killed you. I'm really sorry. Even though you're busy reviewing the script. Keiji-kun, which do you think it was? That's obvious, isn't it? Which? Isn't it both of them? Targeted by suspicious people from the village, and then cursed by some strange Oyashiro-sama curse on top of that? It's both humans and a curse. Oh, now that's an interesting theory. Everybody's just picking on me. I think it's like demons possessing people, which are doing the curse in turn. But then he said that like a shadow was behind him. I don't know. So very, very pitiful. Next time I'll pat you on you. Wait, I'll pat you on the head for you. Okay. In the end, the opinion's still split, huh? I'll think this over again. We might have missed something. Well then, please look forward to the next release. Higurashi, When They Cry, Watanagashi. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this part of this visual novel series. If you do not care to watch the rest of the series and you're leaving here, thank you for hanging out, even if it was just for a little bit. We will be starting the next chapter very soon, if not a freaking nexter-day, I guess is whatever you call it. Not tomorrow, but the next day. We'll probably have the next episode of this out. Very, very, very interesting. Like I said during that thing, I think it was definitely the curse. And I think the curse was like possessing people. I'm really curious to see who the main character is going to be, if we're going to play as Oishi-san, or if we're going to go into what had happened during the time when we were running, but it seems like there wasn't much time that passed between them. So I don't know what they could do, unless they have like a demon world that I go into, you know, and like that is where the next game takes place. I honestly have no idea. But then they said it was like another perspective of the story, is what Rena said, right? Like just now in the end thing, she said it was like another perspective, right? So I'm interested. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit the like button if you appreciated this series. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, because we're going to be uploading the rest of this game. I believe I have every chapter, so we'll be going through all of them. And I gotta end it here before I go on forever. I hope to see you guys in the next episode of this. Peace out, you guys.